Anything to discuss?
Can see that from this sutta, these are almost, the Buddha is almost reaching the end of his life. And the view from here that Mahaparinibbana probably renounce, very close to renunciation, because she became an arahant, and we think that she renounced at which stage in life?
That one, there's no indication given in the suttas, so we don't know. And this particular part, how close it is to the Buddha's final days also, we are not sure, because when they compiled this sutta, they just collected certain incidents and put it inside here. In the Vinaya books also, we have this incident, and it's never mentioned that it was at the last stage of the Buddha's life.
So the sequence of events is not a good sequence?
That one, hard to tell. And we find some of these parts, different parts of the sutta here, they are repeated elsewhere. So it could be that they compile certain incidents and just put them into the sutta. Hard to tell which whether there's any sequence or not.
Okay, let's ask more questions, and you can see how the studies they were fighting with Mahaparinibbana to invite the Buddha for a meeting, and you can see in our Buddhist circle also, many people are aware of the merits that you get in Buddha. I see a lot of people, they're very generous when it comes to doing dharma and making sangha, but some we still retain a lot of selfishness and meanness when it comes to friends and people who are not sangha members. Can I get advice on this?
This is yes, this is true. We find many people. Their development is not balanced. They strive for certain, practice certain things, but certain other things and they neglect. So it's very important to always look inwards. Look inwards. A lot of people are always looking outside, looking at other people's fault, but never see their own fault. But other people can see in them. So all this stems from the ego. So it's very important to reduce our ego. I find many of our lay followers, after many years or so, their ego does not go down. It's very important to reduce the ego. Otherwise, you're not making progress on the spiritual path. It's easier for a monk to reduce the ego, because having given up everything, a monk has no property, no name, so he has to beg for his food some more. So it's much easier for a monk to reduce the ego. For lay people, especially if you have wealth, you have property and all that, then they cling to the ego. And so I find sometimes lay people, they can't tolerate each other. So that's very bad. You must always remember that if you don't make progress while you can, later on you'll regret. I think in the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha mentions there are some lay people, when they see a monk, they don't get up from their seat. And then another type of lay people, when they see a monk, they show respect, probably say by standing up and inviting the monk to sit down or something. And then there's another type who's a bit more advanced. He not only stand up, invite the monk to sit down, he go and find something to offer to the monk. And then, but he just up to there. Then another type, he not only offers something to the monk, for example, he might ask some Dhamma questions. And then there's another type. Having asked the Dhamma question, they don't retain the Dhamma teaching. But another type, they having heard the Dhamma, they keep it in mind. Another type, they not only keep it in mind, they reflect on it and try to understand it better, etc. So the Buddha said, these people, when they are reborn in heaven, they are at different levels. Those who make less effort, they are at a lower level, and then they regret. Last time I had the chance to do this and do that, I didn't make the effort, and I see my friends now at a higher level. Then those who practice more and they are reborn in a higher level, and then they are very happy that they did all those things that they were supposed to do and follow the Buddha's words. So it's the same on the spiritual path. I see a lot of lay people. They are willing to do dana, but they are not willing to practice sila well. There are some people, they practice dana and sila, but still are very arrogant, cannot put down the ego, cannot put up their jealousy, cannot put down their selfishness towards each other, backbiting, and all these things. So next time when you are reborn in whatever place, you will regret. Just like some ghosts, they have the opportunity to learn the Dhamma and practice generosity and sila, they don't. And when they are reborn in the ghost realm, then they regret very much. We know, for example, there are certain beings, they possess some, especially like some old ladies whose mind are not very strong, and make these old ladies go into a trance and help other people. So, of course, people not understanding, they say all these gods come to help. But to me, they can only be ghosts or very low beings. Otherwise, when you summon them, how can they so immediately, happily go into a human body, which to a deva or a devi, a human body is stinking, full of shit and blood and pus and urine, etc. Only low beings like the ghosts will come when you summon them. So a lot of people don't understand. If you want to hear more, I can tell you more about this, but in this Dhamma talk, I won't talk about it. So okay, I think I said enough for now.
Is it the best people to do a short how can we confirm that when we read an arahant, it is an arahant?
The Buddha said, a wise man can recognize a fool cannot recognize a wise man. So you won't be able to recognize, if you're not an Arya also, you won't be able to recognize an Arya. You cannot ask him also. Because firstly, that is bad manners. Secondly, in the monk's Vinaya, when a monk is asked about his attainment, he is not supposed to talk about it. He can only disclose it to another monk. Because in the Vinaya books, there was a time when there was a famine, and the monks were having difficulty getting sufficient food. So a group of monks, a small group of monks, they thought of this great idea. They said, why don't I start praising you, that you are an Arahant, and you start praising me as an Arahant. And then when the lay people get to know, they will make us a lot of offerings. So they did this. And then the lay people started to give a lot of offerings to them. So this is wrong livelihood. So after that, the Buddha said, you're not supposed to talk about your attainment. I see some lay people are always chasing for this type of monks who are highly attained. And very often, I find they get cheated. If any monk claims that he has psychic power, you better run away. Because a good monk will never tell you that he has psychic power. There are some monks who not only say some monks hint they have psychic power, some monks say quite directly that they have psychic power. So if you are a fool enough to chase after these monks, then you get cheated. If there's an arahant in the world, I don't think he will. He'll prefer to spend his time in the forest, meditating. In the first place, nowadays it's hard to find an arahant. It's also very hard to find an anagamin, because an arahant and an anagamin, you need 4 jhanas. And people who attain 4 jhanas, they go into seclusion, hide themselves, don't talk to people, meditate all the time, then only they can get the 4 jhanas. It's not easy to attain the 4 jhanas. It's a very deep state where the breathing stops.
Say that someone certain wanted to walk of money. Now my family is Buddhist, and so how can I prevent them to walk of money? Making sure they
Even the Buddha cannot prevent somebody from falling into the woeful plains. Where we go for rebirth is our responsibility. But the Buddha said, those that we love, and if you want to meet them again in the next life, you try to teach them 4 things. One is to have faith in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Secondly, to teach them to practice charity, generosity, and love to practice charity and generosity. The third, to uphold the sila, moral conduct. And basically, the sila, moral conduct, refers to the 7 precepts, as I mentioned. And lastly, help them to get wisdom. And to get wisdom basically is to hear the Dhamma. So these are the 4 things that if you want to meet somebody else, these 4 things you have to be similar. You got to have a similar faith, have the similar generosity or stinginess. And the third is the same moral conduct or immorality. And the fourth is the same wisdom or same stupidity. You'll be reborn together. Also, these are the 4 things the Buddha said. If you want to repay our parents' kindness, we should teach them these 4 things. If you don't switch off the mic, you turn it away If you are facing the speaker, it's always making some noise. Say again, how can a person be mindful? Maybe don't speak too close to the mic. I can't hear very well.
How can a person reach a mindful from the heart when a person
I see. How can a person how can a person attain mindfulness by meditation? Is it? How can a person attain mindfulness by meditation? Firstly, you have to make the effort to be mindful. That means you don't sleep so much. In the Buddha's teaching, the Buddha's disciples are not even allowed to sleep. They are allowed to rest. Of course, if they can't help themselves, they fall asleep. But the Buddha wants his disciples to remain mindful all the time. That's why there's one practice called Jagarya Nu Yoga. Devoted to wakefulness. Devoted to wakefulness means not sleeping. So there was a time when some young monks were in the hall, in the Dhammasala. This is This is known as a Dhammasala, where the Dhamma is taught. And then after the teaching finished, the senior monks all went to the kutis. So these young monks probably they sat there talking and then fell asleep in the hall. Then in the middle of the night, the Buddha came to them and rebuked them for sleeping without mindfulness. So the Buddha's standard is very high. You want to be mindful, you have to practice mindfulness as much as you can. Even if you are very sleepy also, the Buddha's standard is that you try to take a rest without falling asleep. That's why you find if you have a good afternoon sleep, and then when you meditate in the evening, you are not able to meditate because you allow your mind to run. So if you are very tired, it's good to get a cat nap. After 10 minutes, 15 minutes, quickly get up. If you're not able to do that, some people put a timer, then you get up. So, but it also depends how physically exhausted you are. If you are more physically exhausted, then you need to rest more. So you have to judge what is the minimum you can do it. So the general mindfulness is not to allow the mind to run, thinking of this and thinking of that. One simple way to do that is to do chanting. The Buddha taught his disciples to chant the 32 parts of the body. Head, hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bone, marrow, kidney, heart, liver, midriff, spleen, lung, like that. So if you can't do that, then you chant something simple like Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. Or Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa, like that. You keep chanting, not to allow the mind to run. When you don't allow, when you don't do some work, you don't with your mind, then the mind will start running. That's why they say an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So you have to keep the mind working all the time. Chanting is a very good way. When you're sweeping the floor, you chant. When you're cutting vegetables, you chant. So that is practicing mindfulness. And then practicing sati is different. Practicing sati is putting your mind on one object. For example, your breathing. But that is more difficult. So it's easier like to do chanting. Chanting also is a type of meditation. Just to constantly chant the same thing over and over again and not allow the mind to run. So if you practice satipatthana, but satipatthana means intense state of mindfulness. Intense means you don't allow the mindfulness to run. You keep your mindfulness on one object, for example, on the breath. You keep your mindfulness on the breath all the time. If you are able to do this all the time, then the mind will become one-pointed. And they attain jhana. Some people think you meditate only when you sit down and meditate. No. When you're not sitting down also, you should don't allow the mind to run. Yeah.
I think one is at what stage does a person or monk exudes metta, whereby monks, whereby when you go there, when you sit in front of them, you can feel the sort of metta.
That is a kind of psychic power, to be able to radiate that metta. It's a kind of psychic power. In the sutras we read that you practice that after you attain the first jhana. After you attain the first jhana, then only you can start radiating out.
The second question is, earlier on you were talking about wakefulness. Sometimes when we go to sleep, we somehow or other, we couldn't get sleep. And yet, our mind is spending time traveling. So when we wake up, we don't feel as if we are really slept all the end. We somehow very well rested. Is that wakefulness?
No. That is Falling asleep and dreaming a lot.
So when you dream a lot, but you know about it. But when you don't dream at all, somehow you wake up and say, you might feel sick for a month, but somehow you still feel very fresh.
No, scientists have found out that dreams are short-lived. Normally, when we wake up, we will have forgotten the dream. But there are times when we remember, when you are suddenly woken up. For example, the alarm clock suddenly sounds and then you wake up. You know what you were dreaming about. Or when you were sleeping and suddenly lightning, thunder, strong thunder, and then you wake up, then you know that what you were dreaming about. Otherwise, you keep dreaming the whole night, and when you wake up, you've forgotten what you dreamt. That's proven by scientists.
Another question is, at what stage of development, which stage of development, can one communicate with the animal? For example, when I was at the retreat, the place there were a lot of monkeys. So the first evening, when we were meditating, there was absolute havoc. The monkeys were jumping all around the place, and you were making all sorts of noise, so you couldn't meditate. But the next day, and the evening is all quiet. So we asked our teacher. He said, yeah. He said, last night I meditated. He told me what he does and tell him that he faith and please go somewhere else to play and do something. And that worked for the rest of the retreat. It was absolutely quiet. And the normal time, the monkeys all over the place. At what stage of development they have done, whereby they are able to do that?
I'd rather believe that the monkeys went off on their own, because I know the nature of monkeys. They go from place to place looking for food. They stay in a place and they eat whatever they can find. After that, they will move, and after a long time, they come back to the same place. That's the nature of monkeys, because I've observed them. Sometimes after this group of monkeys goes away, after a few days, another group of monkeys come. Because this group of monkeys, they travel in packs. They always have a leader. And they move from place to place, place to place.
Very comprehensive documentary, and they use thousands of people and subjects for their research, and they determine after 10 years that the optimum hours of sleep we're going to get is 8.25 hours. Okay? So here they ask to sleep no more than 6.5 hours. How do you reconcile that?
Oh, if you sleep 8.5 hours, then that is optimum from the worldly point of view. So a normal person is a busy person. When you work 9 to 5, and you have a lot of frustration in the office and all that, so you need that number of hours of work. But the Buddha and his disciples, they don't have that type of stress. And also because they are pushing themselves to the limit. That's why they try not even to sleep now. Because why? Their object is to be mindful 24 hours a day. That is when you become an Arahant. If you are able to maintain your mindfulness 24 hours a day, you can become an Arahant. Because an Arahant is said in the Vinaya books to be mindful 24 hours a day. And you cannot fault an Arahant for anything, because he cannot do anything wrong, because he is mindful 24 hours a day. So if your object is to be mindful 24 hours a day, you can't hope to do that by sleeping 8.5 hours a night. See? So what is your object? Your object is to be a normal human being, then you sleep 8.5 hours a night. If your object is to be an Arahant, it's completely different.
Other than that, he told me that sometimes he feels lonely days. I don't know, you might have come away from, how do you get rid of that
loneliness? It's not just loneliness, it's being happy. The Buddha, in the suttas, it is said, what is difficult to do in the Buddhist religion? Somebody asked this Arahant, and he said, what is difficult to do in the Buddhist religion is to renounce, because we are attached to the family. There's a sutta given with a very beautiful simile of the elephant, the wild elephant in the forest. If you want to tame a wild elephant, firstly you got to catch him and pull him out of the forest. And when you pull him out of the forest, he's very ill at ease. He wants to go back to the forest. So he will try to rebel and all this thing. And so you have to speak nice words to that elephant and slowly give him food and all that. So in the same way, if somebody is used to the lay life, and he comes to wear the robe, for example, he feels very uncomfortable. Used to maybe watching TV show until 12 o'clock at night, playing with your computer until 3 a.m. or something. And then you come here, you have to go to sleep at 9 a.m., 9 p.m. and wake up at 3:30 or 4 a.m. When a lot of people, they are used to sleeping at 3:30 or 4 a.m. So then after that, the Arahant was asked, so if a person can renounce, what is difficult to do? And then the Arahant said, if a person after a person has renounced, it is difficult to be happy. Why is it difficult to be happy? In that sutta it's not explained, but unless you can tame your mind, you can attain tranquility of mind, calmness of mind. The mind will disturb you. So if you are able to tame your mind, then you can live alone. Then you can find happiness living alone. And after you are used to living alone, meditating, and then you don't like to have a lot of people talk to you. You don't enjoy talking, enjoy quiet. You see a lot of lay people, they enjoy talking, spend all their time talking. And they're so used to it, even when they come to a monastery, they find if they don't have somebody to talk to, they find it very difficult to pass the days. Even this happens with some monks I've seen. Always looking for somebody to chat. Okay, shall we end here for tonight?